Well, look, the secret to understanding Donald Trump often is just to listen, because what he says, more than often or not, is what he will do. So nobody should be surprised that he hit Canada and Mexico with 25% tariffs. He said he would do it. And China with an additional 10%. It's all about what Trump sees as a trade imbalance. Billions of dollars more goods pour into America from overseas compared with the goods sold by the US.
Tremendous deficits with China. Tremendous deficits with the European Union, tremendous deficits with Mexico and Canada. And why? What's the purpose of that? Why would we have deficits?
And it will not end here. Not only did he threaten more tariffs on goods from these countries if things don't change, including the flow of illegal migrants into the US and fentanyl, but also other parts of the world will be hit shortly as well.
It will definitely happen with the European Union, I can tell you that, because they've really taken advantage of us. And, you know, we have over a $300 billion deficit. They don't take our cars, they don't take our farm products, they take almost nothing.
So what about Australia? Well, unlike those other nations, America has a trade surplus with us, the opposite of China, Canada and Mexico. But is that enough to save us from future tariffs? Well, Dr. John Kunkel is a senior economics advisor at the US Studies Centre, one of the foremost experts on trade and tariffs in this country, and he joins me now. John, many thanks for your time. Is Australia completely out of the woods when it comes to future trade with America, do you think, with these tariffs?
Ross, look, I don't think any country can be complacent at the moment. I mean, we're seeing a real ripple effect of policy uncertainty go through all economies in the wake of this tariff move. And as you said, President Trump has been pretty clear. I mean, he's got a number of objectives. Interestingly, they're not just economic objectives, they're geopolitical objectives as well. He's targeting not just countries who are sometimes seen as strategic adversaries like China, but he's targeting allies and partners as well. And there's another dimension as well. He's talked about using tariffs to raise revenue and accommodate some of his other plans in the area of tax. So I don't think any country can be complacent. Yes, the United States has a trade surplus. We're probably better placed than a lot of others, but we have to wait and see. He's issued an executive order which has basically said that all trading relationships should be reviewed over the course of the next couple of months. So I know our diplomats in Washington will be working overtime and bashing on doors to try to get a hearing, but ultimately it's the president who'll make the call.
OK, so then take me to the point that if he is successful and there are fewer goods, say, for example, coming in from China and there are more goods being made in America, then doesn't that mean there'll be surplus Chinese goods floating around other parts of the world that may land in places such as Australia and make prices potentially even cheaper?
Look, that's true. There's a whole range of intended and unintended effects, and that we've seen that previously in that Chinese exports into the United States have been dropping for the last few years now, and they've largely been replaced by countries in Southeast Asia like Vietnam, but also in Latin America like Mexico. But yes, look, people have been talking about the China Shock 2.0 for a while now, Ross, which is really based on the fact that you do have this huge manufacturing capacity in China. And there's a whole range of reasons for that. Economists like to talk about macroeconomic imbalances, but we also know that China has had a very aggressive industrial policy in areas like solar panels and electric vehicles. So, look, it will have to wait and see to some extent. Certainly, countries have been also taking various trade remedies against China because they are concerned about the hollowing out of their manufacturing sectors. I mean, we don't have a huge manufacturing sector, that's probably fair to say. And look, our trade base is somewhat different from a lot of other countries. But look, it is a risk, and we'll we have our trade remedy laws, our countervailing duty, and things like that that can be used in this case. But it really, if you step back, it really is the threat of this retaliatory action that really poses a threat to the global economy and to global growth in general. And the International Monetary Fund and others have been talking about that threat for quite a while.
Yeah, there's one other aspect where Australia might get caught up with Donald Trump, and that is in defence spending. So at the moment, Australia is spending just a little under 2% of our GDP on defence on an annual basis, and it could go above 2% in the next couple of years. That's the forecast. But the reality is Donald Trump says he wants countries that rely on the US for defence to spend 5% of their GDP. And of course, if countries don't comply, such as if Australia does not, then it could well then find itself on the rough end of tariffs. That's the other type of retaliation that Donald Trump could take.
Look, certainly that's correct. And he's already talked about the Europeans having to boost their defence spending to 5% of GDP. One of our colleagues at the US Study Centre at a recent conference basically said that all the country briefs that will go to President Trump will have two numbers on them. One will be the trade deficit and one will be what a country spends in terms of its defence spending as a percentage of GDP. And look, we've had a lot of people, respected voices in this country, say that we should be doing more. People like Angus Houston and Dennis Richardson as well. So I think it's important that we take stock that some of this is coming. Some of it is legitimate. We have to realise, together with the Europeans, perhaps, that we've been the beneficiaries of a sort of a Cold War legacy of American defence spending. But, it's not unreasonable for President Trump also to expect allies to step up in a more dangerous world.
I'll tell you, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. And of course, agriculture could be one area, and beef farmers in particular, that could be affected in the future as the US lobby groups also get to work on Donald Trump. Dr. John Kunkel, the Senior Economics Advisor at the US Study Centre. Always good to chat to you, John. Many thanks for your time today.
Good, Ross. Thank you.